Hey there folks, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a little bit of a different style of video. This isn't a review of this figure, this is more of just kind of a showcase and throwing some different pieces together and seeing what happens for maybe some pictures and things like that. I got a bunch of other I have a bunch of Captain America head sculpts that I want to throw on this figure to see what it looks like. This is my personal favorite Captain America figure, at least at this scale. I have the Hot Toys of Avengers Endgame, the Avengers Endgame version of the Avengers 1 suit. I really like this suit. It's actually my favorite Captain America suit, second to just the classic suit, which I do believe this suit would work well in live action. It just needs to be embraced, because I mean, we've seen it in the first Avenger and it looked really good. Other than the mask looked a little bit wonky, but I've seen people replicate the original Captain America mask and it looks really good. But anyway, getting back to this, I got some pieces here that I'd like to throw on this, and I think it would look pretty cool. I do want to mention right off the bat that this isn't stock. The only thing that's been changed here is that this is the actual SH.Figuarts belt, and this is the Marvel Legends one. I just threw that on there because I was trying to get this belt to sit lower, and I put a slit in the back. And that one is the Marvel Legends one, and I put 3 slits in the back to get it to sit lower because he was looking like Harry High Pants. So that's the only thing I did to it. But we're going to take this figure and we're going to look at some size comparison, or not size comparisons, some head swaps, and see what different things we can get going here. Because I really like this figure, and I think it's got a lot of options when it comes to pictures and stuff like that. I just got to take some more pictures of it because I always just kind of forget about it. As much fun as I have taking the figure photography, or taking pictures of figures and stuff like that, I always just let it slip my mind. And another thing is this figure isn't this dark. It's just the exposure. I have it really low because I think it looks better right now. But we're going to take a look at these. First off the bat, we're going to take a look at the Marvel Legends head sculpt on here, which I actually do like. And I think in some images it does look kind of good. Its side profile, it's a little bit wonky because that neck is definitely too thin. And it's too thin at the front on E2. But when you get the neck to actually sit, the collar to sit where it's supposed to, when you get it to do that, and then, see, that's what I'm saying, it's always falling down. You get it to sit where it's supposed to. The other one sits a little bit better for the unmasked heads, but if you actually get it to sit the way that it's supposed to, it doesn't look too bad. And I think in some photos it kind of works. And this one has a bit more of an appealing skin tone compared to the original. They're both fairly they're both fairly fuzzy when it comes to the paintwork. This one's painted a lot better overall, but they're both fuzzy when it comes to the faces. But this one's got a little bit more of an appealing skin tone, in my opinion. So sometimes I like to use this one. And I've gotten it to look pretty good in pictures before. If I can find them, I'll try to remember to put them up. But I do think this can work. It's not the best. It's mostly just because this neck is thin. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Because, like, you got this head right here, which is your first, no, this is the Endgame Captain America helmet, or head, I should say. And like this could look kind of cool on here if it was the same color, but it looks like it's got a pencil neck. Well, I mean, it does, but it makes it look like the head's really big. It's not that big compared to the figure, because you can see that these two figures right here have about the same width and shoulders. It's not that big of a difference. And if you pop this head right on here, this isn't for this figure, but if you pop this head right on there, it looks pretty natural. It looks like a dude wearing a helmet. More so than the original head, which looks like a dude who has a helmet for a head. So, I mean, this looks in scale by itself, but when you actually realize that it's supposed to be a helmet, this looks a little bit better. So, with that idea in mind, I think that this kind of works. But again, it's mostly that neck. So if you want to take some pictures with this style of helmet and like color corrected it, although these two colors are pretty close, so I think you could just fake it and leave it as is, because these two colors right here are pretty pretty similar. So this might work as well. I know I'm just kind of throwing out a lot of stuff right now, but I find it entertaining doing this, so we're going to keep going. Right here's your original Winter Soldier head sculpt. Marvel Legends, and this one definitely fits. It works well, but like I said, this looks more so like a dude who has a helmet for a head as opposed to a dude that's wearing a helmet on his head. So, but I think it works. The paint work doesn't really hold up, but it still looks cool. And then you got this bad boy right here. I don't think that works very well at all, but it's something all right. Moving on to the unmasked head sculpts that we have. You know, actually I'm gonna pop this off and throw on the collar that has the hood. Technically, this is really only accurate if you wanted it to be an Avengers 1 Captain America, because when he wears this this suit in Endgame, he doesn't actually have the hood in the back. So if you want it to be unmasked Captain America from Endgame, then you would still want to use this piece. But I like this piece because it doesn't fall down like the other one does. So a lot of these head sculpts look better with this piece because not only does it keep this neck up, but it also has the fabric on the sides, or the what is attempting to look like fabric, which kind of brings the traps up. So that also makes the head sculpts look like they fit a little bit better. Obviously, you can't really use this in conjunction with the helmeted heads because it doesn't make any sense, because this is supposed to be the hood. So it doesn't really work in that sense, but with the unmasked heads it looks pretty cool. And with the first one we got here, you got your Winter Soldier Steve Rogers head, which is more so just a random dude who kind of resembles a comic book Captain America. Just to see what that would look like real quick. Here's your face-off cap. Peeling off this head. That's what a Winter Soldier Steve Rogers head would look like on a face-off Toy Biz Captain America. Doesn't look too bad. I don't particularly like this head sculpt or this hair for Steve Rogers, or at least a comic book Steve Rogers. I more imagine him with either slicked back hair or like a comb over. I don't like this, and I don't like it when they give him like a military cut, or like I've seen him drawn like with a flat top too, and I don't particularly like that either. This is kind of like a flat top, but it's also kind of like really short slick back hair, so I can get over it. But I would prefer cap with slick back hair or like a comb over. But anyway, getting back to this, the next head sculpt in our timeline of releases would be Infinity War. Mind you, they did a bunch of different repaints for this. They not repaints, but they re-released it for the Age of Ultron figure, and then they re-released it for the Captain America Civil War 3-pack. I don't know if it had battle damage in that 3-pack. I can't particularly remember. I know the other figures are all, or at least Captain America and Iron Man were painted with battle damage, but I don't know if this head was. But moving on, here's your Infinity War, at least your original Infinity War head sculpt. And this is really the first time that they attempted to make it look like Chris Evans. And again, I think this looks pretty cool. I think you could use this for pictures and it wouldn't look too bad. And like I said, that neck piece really kind of broadens the neck area and the trap area to make it look a lot more presentable. So I definitely like that. Actually, yeah. I can't remember which one of these came first, but we're going to look at this one first. And this one you can push down. I do want to mention though that these ones you can actually kind of push down and have hold there, so it's like it's not going to fall off. There's a few of them that can do that, and there's a few of them that can't. These head sculpts, this one and then this one, use the same type of ball joint, whereas all these other ones use a different kind of ball joint, so they can all fit. Like if you have a Marvel Legends Captain America, this head, all these heads could fit on like your Winter Soldier figure. But if you have this head, it won't. It's got a different ball joint. So, I mean, this one can go on, but it doesn't snap on. Anyway, back to what we're doing. Here's your first 10 years Captain America head sculpt. More so based off of his Winter Soldier through Civil War appearances. This one doesn't work quite as well when you push it down. I think it makes him look a little bit stumpy. I think that Infinity War 1 looked pretty good. I do like this one though. Again, I think it works pretty well for pictures. You get the right angle on it. And then here's this one, which I really like this one because he's got the actual hairstyle from the first Avengers. The first Avenger and the first Avengers movie. He's got a very similar, if not the exact same hairstyle. I think his hair is a little bit darker in Avengers, and his hair is darker than this in the first Avenger. But it's definitely not this dark. If I show you this, the truth lies somewhere in between of these two colors. This is closer in the sense that it's more blonde on top and then goes down to a brown. So, I mean, it really just depends on what you like, but I think that the way that they painted this, it just really draws me in. I like it. And this looks a lot like Steve Rogers, or a lot like Chris Evans. But I also like the way that they painted this, because they actually painted the flesh tone instead of it just being the color of the plastic. So I like that. And again, I think this one can work pretty well in some pictures. And then moving on to your last one, here is your Endgame Captain America head sculpt. And again, I think this looks pretty good. But if you wanted to use this and actually have it be accurate to Endgame, like I said before, this hood shouldn't be on there. So that's something you're going to want to keep in mind. That hood is a no-go for Endgame. But it does make it look visually better for the figure. So if you did want to leave it on and represent Endgame, but have it look visually better, then this is your go-to. Because otherwise, if you use this, it's not quite as accurate. And I think the SH.Figuarts figure that was actually made for Endgame, because this is the Avengers 1 version, the one that was actually in the Avengers Endgame line, uses this same head sculpt, from what I can remember. So obviously this isn't accurate to his hairstyle in Endgame. This is. So if you wanted to do that for pictures, this would be your go-to, unless you have like a custom head sculpt or something like that. But I really like this. I like this one a lot. I think that's probably my favorite outside of this one, because I do think this one looks really good. The paintwork on these aren't the best, but something about the way that they painted the skin here just looks very... It draws me in sometimes. I like it. But this is one of the ones that's a different ball joint, so it can't really snap on there. Whereas like this one is just a little bit bigger. The way it's shaped, it can kind of sit on there a little bit more securely, and it won't really fall off. So I like that. Try this one again. Yep. Not a big fan. They've definitely come a long way. I'm trying to see if there's anything here that we haven't taken a look at yet. But we're gonna throw on this. No, we're gonna throw on this one. Kind of back up here for a minute. We're gonna compare him to some other figures. So here's your SH.Figuarts Avengers Assemble Captain America with a Avengers Endgame Marvel Legends Steve Rogers head and a Avengers Endgame Avengers 1 Captain America belt. Here he is compared to Peggy Carter, which mine has one leg that's longer than the other, so it's impossible for her to stand. And I think this table might be a little bit slanted. So there you go. that's what they look like together. And here he is compared to, I'm not changing his pose because I don't feel like it. But here he is compared to the Captain America that comes in the pack with Peggy Carter. This is just held on with a twisty tie, the shield. So there you got that. If you want to just get some comparisons with this figure compared to some other Captain America figures, let's try to get their heads back together. Here he is compared to my somewhat modified. I didn't really modify the figure, he just has a different head and I gave him a custom shield, but the only modification I did to the figure is I drilled a hole in his back. This little magnet, well, it came off, was just sitting in that right there, so. There's the Winter Soldier. I gotta fix these legs because they're bowing in. I should throw them on this side here. The Winter Soldier, Marvel Legends with a few added pieces. And then here he is compared to my custom Marvel Legends Captain America, which is a mix between Age of Ultron and Civil War. So you can see, it's one of the reasons I really like this figure, because he really fits in with Marvel Legends. His height kind of fluctuates a little bit when it comes to the figures. For an example, like this one is really, really tall compared to all of them. But all these kind of work together in my opinion. And the actual Avengers 1 Captain America is extremely tall, the one that comes with this belt. Both versions, the original one and the one that has this head sculpt, they're both extremely tall. And then if we want to get one more comparison going, or actually two more, here he is compared to that face-off Captain America again. My two favorite Captain America suits. And then here he is compared to a work-in-progress custom Endgame Marvel Legends Captain America. I generally have this head on there, so because like I said, this one's got a little bit of a nick on it, on the helmet. This guy's definitely got some really nice proportions. Those shoulders are something to be proud of, because Marvel Legends is acid shoulders 95% of the time. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys found this video intriguing at the very least, just to have some fun messing around with the figure. Swapping some pieces around. I have all these Captain America heads from all these different figures, so I thought it would have been kind of cool to swap some heads around and stuff like that. I have a review of this guy up on the channel. I probably will do it again at some point in the future, just because I have a review of this guy as well, but they're a little bit older. I mean, it's only been a year, but I feel like I've gotten a lot better in the last year. At least I'd like to think so. So I might do these videos again. But you know, like I said, this is something a little bit different, and I hope you guys enjoyed the idea of it. If you did, maybe hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe hit that notification bell. All that would be greatly appreciated if you decide to do so. And until next time, true believers.